Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and a loser?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy? Darling? Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
I was just thinking, I'm like, dude, I don't look like my, what is his name? Like Richard Gecko or whatever.
Oh, yeah, did you cut your... I can't tell. Did you...
No.
Oh, it's just like swooped back.
I didn't cut it. It's just super slicked back because I got my Brill cream in. I got my like pomade, so I'm slicked back, dude. I'm
Dapper
executive
Dan
in this one. I'm like, hey, I got my like my teal button-up shirt on and my ties flipped behind my shoulder, and I'm ready to make a deal, dude. I'm on my little earpiece. It's not Bluetooth because Bluetooth didn't exist. It's just plugged into my giant monitor.
Well,
I got my earpiece in, and I'm like, hey baby, you ready to make a deal, dude? Enron's gonna give you all the money you need. You know how much money you need? You need enough money to get Enron.
That's right. This is called the $7 podcast. That's the fucking businessman, trader, deal man, Jordan over there, and I'm
a shark, baby, and I'm swimming towards blood.
He's a shark. If you're watching the video, you can obviously see how well done up he is. He's wearing a slick suit, and he's got all of that.
Slick.
I do. Surrounded by stocks.
I got my stocks.
Just stocks. They're just around everywhere.
And you should see my NASDAQ, dude. My NASDAQ is
that's a thing I've heard of. So you might be wondering, dear listener,
what? No, dude. No, having this
Jordan having a stroke.
It's Enron. Nobody knows. If I went on the street and asked 100 people, do you know what Enron is? They would go, "Get away from me, you greasy monster." They'd be like, "No, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about."
If you're over a certain age, you know what Enron is. But you have to be like 30 minurminum.
Why do you know? I was gonna say, I know why I know. I want to know, why do you know? Why do you even know the name Enron? Do you remember seeing it in the
I
news?
remember seeing it in the news. Yeah.
We were like 12.
I remember because it was in so much pop culture, and that showed up in the documentary that we watched today, which was Enron, the smartest guys in the room, which is what we're talking about. Yeah, but there's the Simpsons bit in the show, but it's
and they show it in the show. Yeah,
I feel like that was kind of everywhere in like the zeitgeist at the time, so it didn't really click for me again. Like, I probably didn't really remember it really until this documentary came out. Because I remember this documentary coming out. Because I remember it was kind of a big deal, and I remember hearing more about it because the cases were still going on. I didn't really care, because when this came out, it was like
you were 14. Yeah.
And it's like I was still really into movies.
You didn't care about
movies, but I didn't care about Enron documentaries.
Whatever. The stakes of Enron. But it is funny, though. So this is what
the other into Fight Club or something.
The other right. The other podcast we did at the end, I mentioned that I they made like an Enron Pokemon card. I don't think it was through Enron. I think it was through AT&T because my dad worked at Bell, and then Bell got bought out by AT&T or something, vice versa. It was probably
I forgot you said that. Yeah, you could have not said anything, but now I'm like, you got to find this card, even if it's not.
No. I went down the rabbit hole and I could not find it. I need to. There's this podcast called Understood that I've been like binging, and they find weird ass internet shit like this. I need to call them in and be like, "There's an Enron Pokemon card out there that exists," and I need to start like researching it a little bit better myself.
Yeah, I think there's a subreddit that's just like I remember some weird random thing from my youth, and they like try and get answers from that. There's definitely one for movies.
The tip of my tongue type of shit like that. But
there's definitely something. But
I remember it vividly, and I like it's so wild to think about. And it was like novelty size. It wasn't quite. Pokemon
Is that why you remember this movie?
That's how I remember Enron. Yeah. And then this movie, I remember it from being younger, but not until it was posted on our Reddit and it got voted and won that I was like, oh fuck yeah, I know about this movie. It's like I remember seeing this poster and like
I know, because everyone makes the
hearing about
joke.
this.
It's like, because even Sonny's got a joke where it's just like, no, I'm gonna do more of the Enron. I'm more of the Enron cut and run kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like Frank is like, he's like gonna cut out his group and everything.
Right.
Frank's back in business, which is
Well,
a great episode.
I mean, yeah, I think that is a funny one. Was the warthog?
Yeah.
But
We've made a horrible mistake, my friend, by picking documentaries. I just like, I watched this movie and I was like, I felt the same way but worse after watching Paris is Burning, where I'm like, how am I going to talk about this?
Yeah. Right. Well, Paris is Burning was like, I actually funny.
It's more of a cultural art thing, and this is like
yes,
complicated financial crimes.
Like, but that's the thing. But the thing is like, this is, oh my god, this is what I wanted to get at. This is like my thesis of this movie. What does it matter? What impact did it have on anybody? The fucking billionaires that got affected by this, I don't give a fuck about them. And then there was like, there's 20,000 employees that were involved and they got fired, and it's like there was collateral damage, and I'm sure it obviously ripples out. That is capitalism.
They like lost all their pensions, but that's the thing. It's like this has happened. That's what I said in my thing. This has happened a billion times.
This
it's
happened
just
forever.
They were so brazen about but
they weren't even really. I mean, like they were brazen, just as brazen as any other company ever. It's just like they didn't have a Twitter feed, and later they became brazen. Like I feel like they were brazen in like C-SPAN era, and it just like doesn't affect. It's such a small group of people that it affected.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know. The whole time I was watching this documentary, I'm like,
see, that's the thing. It's the ripples, though. When you're talking billions of dollars, it affects way more people than you think. Just because it's such volumes of money.
I think what it is like, there are people out there like try to make it sympathetic to like people who I'm like they've suffered. If there's like a scale of suffering, they're on like the high end of suffering. I'm even talking like from a fucking basic employee there, like the janitor that works there. It's like I don't know. The suffering is so minimal that I'm like watching this and I'm like I just couldn't like connect, and I couldn't even like
everyone's suffering is subjective, sir.
Anyone.
Everyone's
sure. But this dumb fucking guy who's like had it good for his entire life.
No.
And then he's like, oh, I know, yeah.
Fuck those guys. But I'm like,
that's what the documentary tried to do is like portray them as like, oh look, they look how cocky they were and how hard they've fallen, and it's like no, they're fine.
No, it's nice to see because it's so rare for these kind of guys to have any repercussions. So that's the only justice. But it's like,
but I would hardly call the repercussions.
Tens of thousands, if not even more, because you got to think about all the people who worked on like the projects around the world and like all the India plants and everything. That like their lives were probably ruined by like just they're just lying of debts. You know what I mean?
But I'm curious about that. I wonder
the
if
regular guy
paid.
who had like hundreds of thousands in stock and then he left and it was
Yeah, but no. But that like
financial ruin still sucks.
That guy to me though, the guy who put all of his stock in there and then it got destroyed. I understand that is like it's hard for me. It's hard to be like sympathetic because they had the privilege and the money to like get in and keep buying stock, and it's just like I don't know. It's like a company that failed. Well, I don't know, man. I guess
that's the whole
my main
thing.
Is I feel like I had no connection
stock.
to this.
They gave stock because they knew it was not worth anything.
I know. That's what's funny. Actually,
so if you got paid stock from your work and you're like, cool, I got $100,000 that I've been saving up, and then they're just like, fuck you. No, you don't got nothing.
No, you don't understand. That like, yes, it's tragic because a lot of them were offered stock options. Yeah. Thus taking their actual earned money, because this documentary did a really good job at keeping it so fucking vague on what they did. They're like they produce energy, and that's how they make money. And I understand that's the point of the whole thing. It's like to keep it vague and to be like keep it just as confusing as the people who work there.
It is. It's like Frank's back in business again. He's like, what do we make? He's like, we make wealth. Like
we make money, and that does exist, but then it's so funny because I'm like, this documentary did such a poor, terrible, shit-ass job of even trying to like remotely explain what what happened.
All
That was
right.
that was my thing. But anyways,
we're heated. Back it up.
Yeah, I'm heated. Okay,
Take a
let's
pause.
here.
Take a breath.
Okay.
There's
what is this movie? Do you want to
Yeah.
kind of give a it's your synopsis time?
I'm gonna try, bud. I'm not gonna go into like every little detail. Just the very overall vague sense. So this company Enron was created by this guy Ken Lee in like the 80s during Reagan passed a bunch of shit that basically let him just do whatever he wants with power in Texas.
Right. Ken Lay, but whatever.
Yeah. Is that it? Yeah. I wrote it down.
L-A-Y.
Yeah, you're right. It is Lay.
Whatever.
Kenny Boy. I just called him Kenny Boy because that's what the president calls him, bud.
Hell yeah. You're gonna tell me a guy that like had nothing but wealth his whole life. It's like I know. Anyways,
No, I don't.
I know you're not. I know you're not supporting him. Yeah, fuck
I'm
him
not
off.
supporting any of them. I
Just sounds like you're sympathetic.
I'm sympathetic to their everyday guys that got fucked over. But this movie didn't show that much of that. But there was a lot more.
Watch the Crooked E, and you won't give a shit about anyone who
Crooked
worked
E is
there.
biased.
No. It's about a guy that worked there, and he wrote a book, and then they made it into a movie. And oh my god, we're gonna get into that in a minute. So sorry, I did coming out hot. Okay, synopsis time.
No, so then hold on, I wrote the names down. But it's like
I know. Yeah,
it didn't really matter until Jeff Skilling came on, and he was like the guy. But long story short, they started being super shady, and I feel like the biggest threshold is it's like all the self-monitoring, and the thing they were able to do, which is insane to me that exists, is the fact it's like the mark-to-market type accounting, where they basically can say they have current value based on future projections, which is how they got so in debt, is because they would set up a project and be like, this project is netted, we did all the math, it's going to make $100 million in the next couple years, and then so they're like, great, so you're worth an extra $100 million right now, and then the project falls apart and there's no actual money, it's just debt, which is kind of what happened with this whole thing. So it's like everything kept inflating. It was mostly the Skilling guy and a couple other dudes and accountants being shady and like selling to each other. Lots of insider trading. There's a point where they're fucking with the actual infrastructure of like the power companies in California during like the energy crisis of like the late 90s. And just got fucking out of hand to the point where they're literally saying, shut down the power plant so that we can boost prices for like the day and reroute energy. And so that was all to me, that was like the most brazenly illegal shit. Even though the rest of it seems so systematic that they've been allowed to do that.
the whole idea of them owning the power company and thus being able to control and throttle whatever happened.
There's so many conflicts of interest, and that's just
like those are true ramifications where it's like
well, that's what I'm saying. Those people
were not
those
choosing.
People
They're not. Yes, and
this is what I'm talking
those
about.
Those are victims.
You're talking like there's no victims. I'm like, these guys are victims. I'm not even saying that people lost money. I'm specifically like the people in California, the fucking workers who probably died in India, like building those fucking giant power plants that are just ruins now.
Right. That didn't even get finished. But I wonder if they actually got money, or probably not then, right? Huh?
Yeah, probably.
They probably got their day wage. I mean, I don't know. This is
something. Who knows?
This is just speculation.
Well, that's the whole thing. So it all inflates, and it basically comes crashing down super quick once people actually start sniffing around their books, because they were like, everyone was like in the late 90s were like, oh my god, Enron is like the hugest company ever, and then it basically they're like, oh, but like if you look at your accounting, that's actually what is going on. You're not actually getting any money. You're like, well, here's you say you have all this money, but you don't. So it comes all crashing down, and some select people got charged with financial crimes. The movie ends on kind of like it's still in the process, but in real life, Skilling got like 15. He got sentenced to like 25 years or whatever, but he made a deal and he got down to 15. Yeah. And then Ken Lay died right after sentencing. So
isn't that wild? Yeah.
I don't want to laugh at him, but like, you know,
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll laugh at a fucking crooked billionaire. I don't give a shit.
So, but that's this movie. This movie breaks it down, all this into 2 hours, and I think that's like I feel like they did a pretty good job. But that's to me the biggest fault is because it's like, if it was made nowadays, it would have been probably 1,000 times more interesting because it would have been a 10-hour-long fucking docuseries.
Right. And it really, like, even though
it
like
has
a Netflix
the
docuseries,
whole mind, like hindsight.
Right. That is, yeah, exactly. I think
It was too fresh.
It was way too fresh, and they were I think they were just trying to like capitalize,
Get on it while it was
the
still
fact
relevant,
that- on the fact that like, yeah, this was still in popular media,
Yeah.
and creating like, like buzz around it again to like kind of pick it up, and
And
like,
it did. It had buzz because that's what I remember about it. And I was a fucking kid.
Yeah.
So.
well, and I like, yeah, I don't know, dude, the whole like tie with the government and stuff, that stuff is like, watching this, I wish this documentary was better. That's it. I left with so many more questions.
Yeah.
That weren't even like they would pose a question and then not answer it, or they would like
I think
they
it
would talk
was
about a person and just be like, this guy's a party dude
Well, it's
who
too
loves
much.
money.
It's
like,
too much.
cool.
They that
Can we
was
get a
kind of
whole episode on him, like, and like
literally
one person?
though. That's what I'm saying. It needs to be broken out more because it's like I think they did a good job trying to put it together, but it's just like their scope was just far too large. And so what you ended up with is like a bunch of tiny segments. Like they set it up with like the one dramatization scene at the beginning of the guy killing himself. The one of the guys that like killed himself. And so I'm like, oh, that's going to be a big deal. And it really isn't. Like it's briefly,
it's not.
it's
And
briefly
it's
like,
so,
oh, and then he killed himself because he was involved and he lost a bottle of money and he did some illegal things. And it was all over the place, but it's like, I feel like it was well put together, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like it was a losing battle for them.
I don't know.
Because I liked it, but I was like, also like I left being like, that was the Cliff Notes.
Well, I think exactly. So that was the thing. I'm on the same boat. I wish that this was like flushed out. I wish that we had a little bit more. I wish it was made by somebody different, because this could have been like a 23-minute YouTube video, and they just literally, the guy must have gotten licensing for all those fucking songs.
That was the best part, dude. All the needle drops.
Oh, I hated
That was
it,
the
dude.
best.
Oh my god.
When they're doing the dirt bikes and they're like, it's like Marilyn Manson, and they're like, they partied. It was the stuff of legends, and you're like,
no,
sweet
dude.
dreams are made.
Yeah. Oh my god, no! Every single time it's like, and then they move to California. California, here we come.
Yeah,
it's like
it was the best.
No, oh my god, dude! I was like, the entire time I was like, this is nauseating. This is really poor filmmaking. Like how they created it. The fact that there's more like C-SPAN and stock image and stock shot free.
That's the difference, though. It's like this is more of an investigative type of thing, where it's just like it's just trying to tell the story after the fact, and it's trying to tell too much of the story in 2 hours.
I feel like they got all the interviews.
The
I wish that
I don't think that's a problem, man. That's a documentary. Like it's not not Paris is Burning, where they're like, we're in Enron, buddy. Like, yeah, obviously that would have been cool, but
I wish that I just feel like each person that was interviewed they only used a fraction of what could have been used.
Yeah.
I feel like there could have been
it wasn't always clear, because they used that journalist lady like kind of a lot. Like they probably used her the most.
And I wasn't really she was a journalist.
It wasn't clear that she was a journalist till the end, when she was like, I came in.
Like, yeah. No, the whole time I thought she just worked there and was part of it.
I thought she was like one of the accountants or something.
I didn't realize that she was like a whistleblower, quote unquote. It's like, I didn't realize she was like, she was critiquing Enron in their heyday, and it's like weird that they wouldn't even like.
Well, I would have liked the whole documentary, and I'm sure maybe it exists, of just the court stuff. You know what I mean? Like just the court footage and things like that, because it's like.
I bet it does. If it's on C-SPAN, I'm sure there's a.
Because that's interesting. Because that's fine to take those news footages and compile it into a cohesive type story, but it's just like they had the dramatizations, they had the music needle drops. Like, they had so many other things going on to try and make it, like, flashy and entertaining. And I think it was, but I don't think it was very, like, I think it was just informative enough. And I'm like, I'm interested. Like, I feel like if it was something I really cared about, this would be enough to be like, oh, I want to learn more about this case. Let me go buy the actual book or something. But I'm like, I don't care enough to, like, so much of it, I was like, they just skimmed over trying to make it, like, bite-sized for the layman, and I'm like, it just doesn't work for the kind of story that this is trying to tell necessarily. But
right,
I mean,
that's my biggest critique. It just did not explain anything.
Yeah,
It would
too big for
say
his
something.
britches.
Right. Well, every time it would bring up, like, it would bring up what is going on, what happened. Like, the entire time, I'm like, how did Enron get started? How did it get started? Do you know? Do you know from this documentary?
Yeah, I mean, he just started a company in 1985.
I mean, he just
It was an
started a
oil.
company.
It was an oil company.
He
Texas.
just started a company. He just walked into an oil company and he's like, "Hey guys,
How does
I'm
any
Enron
company
now."
start? I mean, like he probably had like connections with oil people beforehand, and then, Reagan passed his bills, and so he was already fucking rich, and he probably bought a bunch of land in
Yeah.
Texas, and then set up all his refineries with shitty fucking regulation to do whatever he wants. Got super rich off that, and then it just blew up from there.
Right, but like that is very. I feel like that's important information. Like I feel like
I mean,
they
it is there,
started
but
this
yeah, it's
documentary-
like it was 2 sentences. You know what I mean?
I mean,
And but then they spent
like,
3 times as much focusing on shortly thereafter his connections to the presidency. You know, to
Right.
HW,
which
being friends
even
with
then.
both
So
the
I
W.
well, I looked it up lightly. I just like went on Wiki and then did an article from there. But it's like, yeah, he was in since the 60s. He's been doing like the late 60s, early 70s. He's been working heavily alongside politicians
Yeah.
in the oil business.
Well,
so
they're
it's like
huge
it's
lobbyists
basically like
and stuff, and
he's
paying.
Plainview. Like
Well, that's the whole thing. It's
know what
like
I mean?
this.
But-
There's so many things that could be the focus. Like the focus of this documentary
Yeah.
could have been about how this is the start of the era when corporations really start controlling politics. Because look where we are now. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I think
that would have been
yeah, there
more
are.
interesting. But
there's so many. It is, dude. This needed to
this
be like
could
a
have been
10
about the
episode series.
suicide. This could have been
Because
about
I would have
so many things.
I would have loved to have more. Okay. Oh, how about this, real quick? Well, real quick. I want to know more about like their stock was what. That is what truly brought like real life next to whatever resource that they provided, and the physical money, the actual like liquid money.
Yeah, there
that
had
they
to be
had
actual
was
income.
through-
You know what I mean?
Clearly, well, there was because people were
Clearly.
cashing out their stocks, and that's what they basically
It just shows that
took a
fucking
business.
wealth is fake, man. It's all
and-
just fucking
well, it
numbers.
is. But but the sickening thing about it is like it's not fake. It's just moved around until it becomes quote unquote legal. Like it's like it's fake because they literally just said, "Hey, we're a cool company," and then they came out and they did the like little dance on the stage, and then like 20,000 normal people went, "Oh, that's a cool company. I'll give them my actual real life savings, my real money." And
It's that
like
con,
and then that
con is as old as the
Right.
dawn of time, man.
right.
fucking-
But it's just
It's
wild
the
on the
foundation of our
scale.
country.
It really is, dude. But the whole time I was watching it, I'm like, when they used a lot of gambling metaphors in this documentary, and I was left questioning the validity. Did they go to like an actual casino and gamble? Like, did they have like $10,000 gamble and make like $400,000 and then use that physical cash to like
I think they
open
literally
things
did
up?
like
did
once
they
or twice.
literally go to a casino and gamble? Because they never made it clear. They just used the term and they gambled their money, and it's like, but did they physically go to a casino and
Well, no.
gamble money?
I
No,
think
right?
there was one point that maybe someone did. I think is what they were saying at one point.
Okay,
But
okay.
but more importantly, because I was like, what is stock trading? It's straight up gambling. It's literally just
right.
like
No,
that's what
clearly,
it is.
yeah.
And so,
But it's just like gambling. It can be statistic and it can be based on trends. There can be like it's like intellectually gambling or whatever. It's like counting cards or something.
yeah,
It's
well,
like
that's why they still call
probability,
it the
clearly, right.
smartest guys in the room, because it's like in order to,
Right.
that's what they say. It's because it was like all these bigwig guys that thought they were hot shit. And, you do have to have a certain amount of like mental aptitude to probably be able to do that, because a lot of it's
right.
above my head.
Of course, yeah. And clearly there are degrees. That's what a lot of people who worked in Enron actually had, like,
But it's just like, it
business
feels like
degrees,
such a
whatever it's
sham.
called.
They're just like, because they're just like trading around stocks.
That's
and like,
that's all stocks are, though, dude. It's such a shame. But
No,
do you
that's
think
that's
you
what
can
I'm
get?
saying. It's fake. It just seems it's
you-
just like the illusion of money.
are we allowed to go on the stockroom floor or whatever to go in that building where all those TVs are and they're like
Why, with a pipe
trading
bomb or
stocks?
something? Like what?
No, well, I mean, yeah, God, I wish, but no, like legitimately, the whole time I was watching this show, I'm like, could we
I
walk
want
in
to,
there?
right?
Are we
Like,
allowed?
There's so
Are we
many
allowed to-
movies.
What I feel like it's not illegal to go there, but I'm also like, why would I be allowed to go there? I pose
there's
that
gotta be,
question
like,
to you out there, my listener.
There's got to be like you have to work there. There's got to be like security for the building. You probably have to have a lanyard.
I don't know, dude.
If not,
I feel like
in New York, they just get every Joe Schmoes just walking in there. You
I
can't
guess
just
you're
go in there
right.
and trade.
Can I bring in my like receipt that for my stock? I have like 2 stocks. Can I just bring my receipt in?
Hey, well,
be like,
now's
hey.
our chance to plug the new Cult of Cinema Knowledge stock. Go to the website, buy into our stock. We'll let you in at a good price.
Dude. We actually really should start our own coin.
No,
like our own Bitcoin. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna get really into NFTs. So anyway, this I don't know, man. This movie had a lot I liked, but I had a hard time like getting engaged to like because I was interested in like the crimes and like.
Well, that's the thing. I was interested in a lot of the stuff,
but
that
it kept
gave us
like
nothing.
reaching at threads for everything else. Like the whole segment that was like the most cohesive was like the stuff about California and the power outages. Like I thought that whole segment was pretty interesting, and I would like a whole documentary on that. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
I did think one of the best parts, just overall, like I think the editing was solid, but like. Especially for an older movie, it's all DV tape probably.
It's pretty. It's like dated as hell. But.
Well, it's just like the early digital. It's just it's definitely DV tape. But at the ticker at the bottom that they added post credits, there was just like would show kind of the pacing where it would be like, here's the date and then here's the current stock price. I feel like that was kind of a fun tactic to kind of give it an overall arc because it was like, it was $90 a share. I don't know. I don't remember what 90 was the highest one I saw, but I think it was higher than that.
No, I think it was. I think 90 was the high. I don't even think it got to 90, dude.
No, it 100% got to 90.
100%. They said 90
because I definitely saw that one and made a point of it.
I saw a graph and it went to like it was like 89 or something. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
They might have just put it,
I don't think it ever got over 100, but that's insane though. That's a high.
That's high
for being like a gas company too. That's it's not like a popular.
And a lot of it was just all the debt they had. But then it's like when the crash happened, it showed the stock thing again because it showed it like 5 or 6 times, but it showed it again, and the crash it was like 40 cents a share, and so it was just like just seeing the drastic like from $90 to 40 cents in like a year, like or less. It's pretty wild, and it's just I wished this movie was like more of a cautionary tale because it's like I feel like this kind of shit has just gotten worse in like financial sector, like corporations are just like more laws let more corporations fuck over regular people more often and just like be rich. Like obviously the wealth gap between 2001 when this happened and now has gotten like it's like 1,000% or something, and so it's just great. I wish this was more like you don't see people. That's the only reason why this movie and this case was even popular is because it's like you never see rich people pay for their crimes unless they like kill a prostitute or they steal from someone. They steal from someone even richer than them, which is what this was. Is because they quote unquote tricked the banks into investing into their fucking side hustle, and then that's why like Chase Bank and like Citi and like all those other banks like they sued at the end because they were like implicated in buying that shady stock from that guy who was like a shell company. It's a whole thing.
Well, and I guess that's the thing where I'm like, this documentary I don't know, trying to like appease and like actually explain something to like the layman like us. We are. I don't know jack shit about. I
thought you were. Look at you in your. You got your fancy suit and your earbud on. I thought you were a stock trader over there.
No, dude, I'm in ruins.
He's the Wolf of Wall Street.
I'm in ruins.
It just made me want to go watch Wolf of Wall Street though, or something, because it's like that's a better documentary.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely more sincere, and that's more like Wolf of Wall Street is a lot more accurate. In this, they like they showed everybody as like they looked like a fucking uncle. Like they just looked like some fuddy-duddy uncle. And I'm like, I'm sure, yeah, I get it. And like, oh my God, dude, the one time that they actually tried to like to have the Wolf of Wall Street vibe, where they were like, whatever that one guy was, and he's addicted to strippers. Like it's like,
oh yeah,
the thing he loved more than money was strippers. And it's like,
and then it showed.
like,
I was not expecting, because then it just
I know,
and then it just straight to tits. Like
it's
it
like,
just showed like they just went and filmed in a strip club, and I was like, whoa, titties.
You can tell they're like, oh God, the documentary's dipping. We're gonna lose them.
I know,
We're gonna lose them.
Quick, flash the tits.
Yeah, we got to get them back because this is the only way.
We hooked him with the dramatic suicide at the beginning. We're losing him because we haven't even mentioned that guy's name again.
And that's why I'm like, I don't know. The fact that you're saying like this is a well done documentary to me, I'm like, maybe for 2003, whatever.
I think it's a well done documentary. I don't think it's an effective documentary because it doesn't feel like it really has a point. The point seems to be like, here's the story, but here's the cliff notes of the story. And that's why I think it's kind of an uphill battle, because at the time, you can't make a fucking 10-hour documentary series, which is what it probably should have taken to actually tell the story. And you could give it dramatic pacing, because there is dramatic shit. Like there's all the strippers and the crazy part. Like there is enough intrigue to make this a thing, but it just came out in the time. It jumped the gun trying to be on the ball for when it was made and stay relevant, when it's like literally it came out in 2005, and then 2006 is when the trial was supposed to be. It's like, at least wait for the fucking trial to finish. And so really, I think that was the falling. I think like the people who actually made the documentary did a fine job, and mostly kudos to like the editors for doing the best with what they had. Because I feel like it was like well paced, but like again, it's like it doesn't have a mission statement and like to be about anything. Like even Paris is Burning, it's like this is about balls and this is raw, and that had a lot more leeway because of how raw in the scene it was. But even then, it felt more focused somehow. Like, and I think that Paris is Burning was way more focused.
Well, because Paris is Burning followed like coherently a few people. Yeah, like
it didn't get lost in the weeds of like. Also, all the shit, like, listen to our last episode about Paris is Burning, but we talked about, like, it doesn't go down huge tangents about, like, the bigotry and all this. It stays kind of on the ball, then all that other shit's there. And so I think, like, the biggest problem with the Enron doc, right, smartest guys in the room, is, like, it just didn't pick a lane. It needed to just pick a lane and kind of stick to it if it was going to be a movie.
Right. And I think it inflated how complicated it all was. I think they were like, oh God, we could make this 40 minutes. Like this could be something that's like, for how they explained it, it's like it really could. It felt like it could have been a YouTube video.
Well, exactly. Which, I forgot all about the stripper guy, and it's like they're like, he had an important role, but he was literally, they talked about him. He came into the company, was there. They talked about him for like 15 minutes, and then they never brought it up again, except for his name once during sentencing. And it's funny because they talk about him like what he did as trying to like shift the blame, or not even blame, but like shift like a moral compass onto him. Like look what he did. He came in, he cashed out, and like he did exactly what you were like, quote unquote, are supposed to do. You come in, you buy low stock, and then you sell high. Knocked up the prostitute.
For real, 100%, dude. No. You straight up, you fucking. You buy low, sell high. I mean, that's it. That's the dumb Wall Street bets r/Wall Street bets, fucking motto. And that's like what you do. And so it's like, I don't know. Yeah. It's like to me, I'm like, why'd they even mention him?
Well,
he could have been a sentence.
Well, they even got that bug-eyed guy that they kept interviewing. That's like, he worked there. And
I know.
He like, it could have been about, cause he was like, oh, this is like
it could have been the anchor.
cutthroat nature of this world. Like, take me into the world of stock trading. Take me in there to like the fucking cutthroat. Like, because I thought the most interesting part was he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a bonus if I fuck this guy over. Great, I'm gonna go for it." And then like all the hidden conversations of the two guys talking on the phone about the energy crisis, and they're just like talking like it's Wolf of Wall Street or something. Like I'll be like, "Oh yeah, fuck them," and all this, like. Give me that movie. You know what I mean?
That's exactly. It's almost like almost like they didn't want to drag their name through the mud too much. I'm like, no, dude, fucking like that's like get as much information as you can about the like corruption that they did, because I know they had they had to have had so much more
it
footage.
just seems like
That's another.
so much. It's like they could have cut out a lot to make it like more focused, or like if they wanted to do everything, they needed to make it longer. You know what I mean? That's the crux. But I don't know. Like I feel like it was like there's some stuff I liked, but you know,
Would you're recommending this documentary to people? You would recommend this?
I mean, if it's something that already interests you. If you have an interest in like, you know, if you want to see one of the few times in our modern history of like this huge corporation fall and have that satisfaction of to see capitalism crumble slightly, that's it. Or if you have a specific interest in like financial crimes, then yeah. Otherwise, I mean, I'm sure just it don't, man. I don't know if I recommend it to you otherwise, but
Yeah,
I'm glad I watched it though, and it's like, and I don't think it's bad. I still don't think it's bad. Like I think
well, agree to disagree.
I don't think it's bad at all.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I'm moving on. It's interesting to see this parallel though with our current climate though. That's what's fascinating. Like just, I mean, all I know is like
That's
you've
what
heard
the
about
most depressing.
Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah.
It's wild to see like, oh, that's, I mean, we've had like bank collapses before, but it's just like, it's wild to see that Enron kind of set a precedent for what can happen in the future. Like Enron was seen at the time as being kind of the most like you said, brazen, and just the most like blatantly corrupt, and like how can they do this? And then in this doc it does such a terrible job at like articulating the deep pockets that they had in the government. Like it's like this is like an oligarchy. An oligarchy has existed for, you know, time and time again here. But I feel like with the availability of the internet becoming really popular, and like being able to inflate wealth with owning nothing, like with producing nothing, that is definitely like a newer thing that exists now.
Yeah.
Like it's like back in the day, there actually was a physical thing that existed that would cause wealth. I mean, I'm sure you know someone out there probably knows, and I would love come to Arcus/Cold of Knowledge. Let us know like if like we're way off base, but I just feel like it's like 100 years before, and you know the late 90s.
Look at the metaverse or something. They're trying to sell this digital
Right.
space for like
Yes,
millions
exactly.
of dollars, and it's like that's
Right. And that's a good point. It's just Facebook. Facebook's just a forum. It's just a forum page, and then they just structured it to prey on your, you know, nostalgia, and to prey on your like your connection with the human society. And it's like, and then they just started like creating. It's like Facebook's one of those wild things too, where I'm like, how do they make money? Yet they're $1 billion company, but what do they do? Like you can't just say
Ads, dude.
advertisements.
Everything's
You
ads.
can't though. I mean, ads, sure, yes,
Not-
but $1 billion
no,
worth
no.
of ads. That's what I mean.
Not-
Like, you know,
I'm
it's
not
like,
saying ads that like just show up in your pop-up feed. I'm talking like
Right.
focused fucking selling spots of misinformation that are
I-
don't seem like ads. It's just like, here's a cooking channel.
Right.
Look what we're happy to use this new blend of blah blah blah, like those kind of ads.
Of course. Yeah, I understand the clickbaity shit that like totally gets
And maybe the
anytime you click
marketplaces,
something
but-
and then selling your information.
They're the
that's
middleman.
classic.
Yeah.
But it's wild because like that, it's like Enron, I feel like did kind of set a precedent for what we have now, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of getting, we're in the late stage of this beautiful thing we call capitalism.
Yeah,
So
it's so beautiful.
it's wild.
I feel like if this would happen now, they would just get bailed out. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
I
right.
feel like someone in government, maybe their
Right.
big connections, looked at
Yeah.
them and was like, "Should we just bail them out?" And they're like, "You know what? It doesn't really seem worth it. Honestly, we could lose them, and it's no hard loss because they don't really do shit anymore." And
that's
so
what I
they
feel
let
like.
them fail. Where it's like so many other companies have done this, and like they're bailing out fucking everyone, billions of dollars, all these huge corporations, because they and then of course when they do that, like fucking all the executives get like $100 million bonuses and on the fucking bailouts, which is like that's where we are these days. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like if you can't fail because I don't know, unless you're expendable, which
I guess but
many the corporations own our country, so it's like
I think the only way you fail now is when a predatory like copycat comes around and you're a small startup and then they go, "Oh, we already own all the infrastructure, so we'll just do it ourselves."
oh yeah, just the
And then-
monopoly
and then
on it
you're-
anyway. Yeah,
Right,
just
the
swallow
monopoly,
it up.
yeah. And that's
Well,
what's wild, dude. It's
this is what I was saying about these guys too. It's like I feel like the only reason they also got fucked in the end is because they kind of someone bigger than them. Like all the other
Yeah.
banks that they tried to like lasso in to like get them ended up losing money because of them, and so they shut
really
them
is-
out. You know what I mean?
It really is their thing. They should have stuck with because they branched out in the documentary. They do touch on like the fact that like so they owned like a portion of that like oil, natural gas. They had pipelines. They had everything that was infrastructure that actually existed, and it was a real thing that they could trade and buy and sell and all that shit. And like it, to create actual wealth from a
Because
product.
That's how they get
know,
more.
and then-
That's how they get more money. They build a thing, say
They-
this thing is
right,
going to produce so much money.
Sure.
Because they just
what
regulate
they did.
themselves. Like you'll never understand how we let companies fucking regulate themselves, man. It's
Yeah, I
like,
guess that's true. I'll never.
it comes
I
back.
won't. I'll never understand hoarding wealth like that. Like I
don't get it.
I never. I get like
Why you got to be that rich?
having wealth, but it's like
Well, it's
hoarding that much wealth to me is so
that's why. If this
abstract.
movie was
You
about
have to be evil.
the
You have to be evil.
narcissist, because
There's
these
no
guys
other.
these guys are
there's nothing else.
obviously narcissistic sociopaths, several of them, and I'm like, make it about that. You know what I mean? Like that's
Right,
interesting
right.
because it's like,
That's-
a lot
lean
of
into
these
it,
like psychopaths up in higher branches of government, and it's like they don't want money. It's fucking Daniel Plainview. They don't want the money. They just don't want anyone else to have it. It's because
Right.
they,
Well, no. Well, and it comes to a point where it's like there is a cap. You hit a cap where it's like you have enough money that there's. I don't know. I guess it's like you can theoretically have more, obviously, and then you would control more stuff. I guess that's that. I'm just trying to think like what the end goal would be.
I don't know. I like to
you know.
think that I would be better, and I'm sure I probably would, but it's like if I've never had like insane
But you
amounts of
can't-
power or
I mean,
wealth.
that's
So
what, you've heard the saying. There's no ethical billionaire. It's like it
No,
can't.
there's
It doesn't
not.
exist. There's
Doesn't
really no ethical millionaires out there either. But it just like that. It's a wild.
let me see. Now that the Reddit's working, I got no
cool.
one. Everyone voted for this movie, but then no one commented on it.
I think we got one.
We got one.
I commented back.
We got one of our dudes.
I know, dude. Yeah, tried and true.
And they watched it with us this week. Like not with us actually, but watched it recently, which is
in spirit.
well, it's always kind of
Which
nice
we-
when
we should
people
get-
it's fresh, you know.
We need to get back on Discord, dude, because that would be really fun.
We will.
To do some-
Yeah,
yeah.
I want to.
Well,
We definitely will.
We'll talk.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Yeah.
So, Clones are People 2 says, there's an idea in business that people do not buy the product, they buy the philosophy. And after watching this, I am not quite sure what Enron's product was, but I know their philosophy was to make money, a lot of it, and also to screw everyone else over while doing so. This is a tale of corporate greed gone wild. I remember when this came out, but I never got around to watching it until now. And while it tells an interesting story, I found that its style felt a bit dated. At times, I felt like I was watching a news piece and the documentary was telling me what to think and to feel about the people and the story that was unfolding. The story was equally fascinating and also shocking in its portrayal of corporate psychopaths and the cutthroat world of boardroom politics. Overall, I think it's a great story, but the documentary suffers from being too close to the subject. The fall of Enron was in 2001, and this was released in 2005. I think it would have been better if it was made later, as it would have been able to see the bigger picture and repercussions of how this corporate greed was rampant across multiple companies and led to the financial crash of 2008. Exactly.
Dude, and that's what Big Short is such a good. So yeah,
Big Short
thank you,
rules.
thank you for
thank
commenting
you
always.
for
And
commenting. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
we'd love to hear from you. But Big Short, I'm like, that's a good example of like making like a biopic that.
Big Short ruled because it's like it was. That's why it was so popular, is because it was informative like a documentary, but it was obviously told in like a classic narrative kind of way. God, Big Short rules. I want to watch Big Short again.
I know. I want to see it. Yeah, I want to see it again. Yeah, because that's like it. It's fascinating to like kind of get. I mean, it's kind of fun to get it that way because I don't know. This is
that's
this
the thing. It's
documentary.
fun,
the whole time
but it's
I was
always
watching
like, yeah, that's what it needed.
But the whole time I was watching this documentary, I'm like, I was like, oh, this is, and which is, it's not fair to compare it to Paris is Burning, because Paris is Burning there wasn't anything necessarily biased about it, because it just literally followed people's lives and not necessarily, it just kind of told the story of like a culture that they were a part of. And so they did it. They started, it'd be like making a documentary on like people who played in a band. It's like, you can't really, it's like they just played music and it's like about their lives and them writing music. It's like, you can make a bias out of anything. But anyways, this is like the classic crux of a documentary where it's like, it is trying to manipulate you and tell you something, and it's like, and because it's almost like it's impossible to be like neutral on this kind of subject, to like.
Yeah, I agree,
you
but
can't just be like,
I feel like the
that,
manipulation, because it's so close, it feels more like the knee-jerk reaction of like, whoa, these guys, these super successful company that has literally been on the top of the Fortune 500 for the last decade or longer. It's
right.
like, whoa, they collapsed, which is crazy. And also, whoa, they were a bunch of like scams, blah, blah, blah. So it feels like it wasn't like so like condemning them in the way like that. It was just like how shocking it was to be like, really, all along they were just a bunch of playboys, scammers.
It just seemed like, to me, like,
now we know that about Wall Street. Like, I feel like,
no, but we've always known that. That's the thing.
We've always known.
This documentary seems like it's like, but they lied to us. Like, can you believe that?
They lied.
I don't know. Yeah, right.
I know that's the whole thing. It's like, because that's, it's like, how are they able to lie to us? It's because the one guy says it,
right.
And I think this is the point of the movie. But it's like, it should have been more clear. It's like that in these higher echelons of all these changes of money going on in the government and in corporations around the world, there are no checks and balances really anymore. They, like, the people who run everything, they run everything. You know what I mean? And it's probably only gotten worse, I'm sure. And I think that's kind of the whole crux, where it's just like, wow, they lied to us. Not only am I shocked that they lied to us, which that's dumb, because you should have known that they're going to lie to you. But it's like, right. How were they allowed to lie to us? Like, and that comes down to the whole thing about deregulation. They're always fighting to not have any outsiders looking in. And I'm like, I get not wanting to have the government all up in your shit, but it's like someone needs to be up in your shit, because it's like so many, it's just so open to abuse. And I think that's the point, even though if it got there kind of messily, but it's just
I guess
that to me, that's
very
the
well, but
it's just like somebody needs to keep an eye on these guys, and no one is. They care for themselves, and they obviously don't, because they're personal best friends with two presidents. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's
right?
like, so why would they? You know what I mean? It's like, you're getting rich, you give me money to do my politicking. It's just the never-ending cycle of God bless America.
Yeah.
So
we're here,
that's what frustrates me. So anyway, did you happen to know the money? You got a money minute?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll do a money minute before Travis here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of...
It always gives me a minute to get to it.
Oh, yeah, go for it, yeah. Documentaries are always kind of tricky to get the actual money.
Yeah.
Because they're so, like, half the time they're, like, independently produced. Rarely is there a huge... There's not, like... There's typically, for good reason, I feel like there's not, like, a Warner Brothers behind a documentary. It's typically some dude who has his own production company, gets together. I didn't really look into this guy very much. It's like he works under a bunch of different kind of production companies that like probably helped with financing. I can't even. Alex Gibney is the director of this, which I'm not very familiar. He's done a few more documentaries, so he's worked on that. But anyhow, the estimated budget for this was $700,000, which seems pretty modest, but also that's what I guess that's what I'm getting at is like
Well, the
this documentary
archives,
seems-
though. It's
the
all
fact-
the archival shit,
no,
like having
it's,
to go.
It's all the royalties. It's all royalties to those needle drops, dude. It's all royalty.
That's
to this fucking
probably
music.
true, yeah.
That's 100% what it is, dude. I bet
you the
music
guys
is
searching
so
through
bothering.
the microfiche, those poor
Yeah,
guys, they
that guy
probably
got
didn't get paid
50
much.
bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, honestly though, that guy probably got paid like
In pizza.
$10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he got paid at all, he probably got paid like I don't even know, dude. It's journalism, so who knows what he got paid?
That's
it's like,
what's hard, yeah.
Anyways,
like we were saying
but
last episode, you don't have to pay for that.
you really don't. Yeah, that's what's wild. It's like, and I'm surprised it costs that much for seeing most of the stock footage and stuff. Anyways, and then, but it grossed a lot. It grossed like 5 million, basically 4.9
Okay.
million.
It's not bad.
So,
I remember it being popular, and I do feel
That's
like
pretty
at the
dang good
time,
for
like
early 2000s and
turn of the century. This feels like a very turn of the century
like a
type
business-
of documentary.
This documentary is its age demographic is like 38 to 60. You know what I mean? Like to make that much money for like it's like 40 minimum is your
No,
40
it's
to 60 is the age
people
group.
who were full adults in the 80s and 90s and
Yeah.
knew what Enron was, and then were like, "Whoa, Enron fucking imploded!" And I want to watch how did that happen? Give me the story.
And that really is the only way it made money is
And I
because
get
it was this was in the this was on the news.
I get it.
Enron
I mean,
was on
it
the
seemed
news.
to your everyday guy seemed like a big shock because it's like obviously you don't question it. It would be like if Google or something suddenly collapsed.
Yeah.
We were like, "Whoa, Google! How'd that happen?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you have like 5 years of the investigation and the scandals and all that shit coming out. So I see why
I get it.
it did well, but no.
Yeah, it's that's the one thing about documentaries I really like is and I mean it's probably hopefully where some of the money went, but it's just like you gotta get out there and like fucking I don't know. It's like,
Right.
but that's what makes it messy though, because it depends on who's getting in there and
Well,
what
that-
kind of
I know.
questions they're asking, how
I
they're
think
putting
that's
shit
my-
together.
That's the thing that like it deters me from watching documentaries so much is that I'm like it is homework. It's like journalism. It's like reading a newspaper or watching any kind of like syndicated news program. It's like I can't just like
I mean,
throw on
I
stuff.
try
You throw-
to. It is hard.
Right,
I
yeah,
try
I
to
mean,
come at it of like a point of view of like I do look at it more of like a filmmaking, like how is this put together? How is this information explained to
And
me?
they're not subjective though. Like they're definitively
They
telling.
rarely are.
They
only
can't be.
that's the thing, and
In
it,
its
they
nature.
only are subjective when it comes down to things that are sort of like non-consequential, like Paris is burning. It's like it was really important to a lot of people, but it's just like about balls and stuff, which is shining a light on this thing. It's like they don't give a fuck. It's not like a crazy crime or anything. Which this is like one of the biggest crimes. So it's like that. It's at the end of the day, valiant attempt. But they threw too big of a net, and it's just too big for their britches, man. So,
Yeah, the britches are pretty small.
I got Travis's, and this comes back to we'll see what wins next week's. But what's winning so far is one of the more problematic documentaries. But I'm interested to rewatch it if it wins. We'll see. So here's Travis's.
Hey guys, Enron, the smartest guys in the room, is a good documentary. The kind of documentary that pisses me off so much. How the rich and powerful seem to always get away with whatever they want, with little to no consequence. This was the second time seeing this for me, and I'm just as disturbed as the first. I think the phone conversations between the traders was the best insight into greed and selfishness imaginable. I feel this documentary came out too early, and that it didn't show their trials nor the death of Ken Lay before his sentencing. This seems like a perfect example to show school kids on the possibilities of greed and making money at all costs. Besides some swear words here and there, the only part that couldn't be shown in school was the stock footage of half-naked strippers. It was explained that Lou Pai, the former Enron executive, liked to frequent the local strip club and eventually married a stripper from there. So my question for you guys today is, why do you think they would include the half-naked women, thus making it not suitable for all ages? Thanks.
Thanks. I thought you were gonna say like, would you guys marry a stripper?
Yeah, what I
thanks,
meant. Yeah.
Travis.
Well, the whole thing is no. The whole time I was like, well, at least like, at least he left his sham marriage and his, his probably broken marriage to go with his stripper and marry her. Like, he's the most noble person of all of them.
Nah,
man.
it's because he knocked her up, man.
I know, that's what I mean. At least he was true by it. Didn't just have some litter of kids out there. Just
Yeah,
like,
I guess that's true.
No,
It's because he was a nerd. That's the thing. These guys are all just nerds.
Can't
They got
200,
rich.
200 mil, dog? Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, give me that 200 mil. I eat that up. I'll
One
take that 200
word.
mil.
To answer your question, Travis. One word and
Yeah.
one word only.
Thank you
They
for-
could
thank you for-
easily cut that out, but it's tantalizing, and that's why it's there.
Yeah.
It's literally a part of the story that sort of plays into what narrative they want to say, even though it's not in the focus. It could be. Like, you could focus on all the party stuff. You could. That could be a movie. But they obviously, it was tantalizing, and the fact, I don't know why they probably just wanted to put titties, because they could have done it without full-blown nudity.
Well, and the thing that confused me, it was stock, right? It was stock footage.
I don't know
It
if
wasn't actual footage of them in Enron. It wasn't like handy cam footage where they took it into a strip club and shot it themselves.
Stock footage is not the right word. It's like B-roll footage.
I know,
It's
B-roll,
like
sure.
They
He
sent a
shot
guy
it. The
with
documentary crew
Yeah, they were like,
went, hey, we're going to go out and
We
film
should get
something
some
that is
footage.
not even remotely important, or that's why I don't think this is a good documentary, dude. It's like they literally were like, they said, hey, B-team,
they need
go.
something
It
to
wasn't
go
even a strip club.
under the dialogue.
I guarantee you they went to Vegas and they called some of those like pamphlets that are fucking spread out over the concrete. And they called a pamphlet and they went, all right, we got 4 girls to come into this like studio booth. that we're
Nah,
gonna
it was
They
definitely
filmed
a
it.
strip club, but
I don't know, dude.
watch it again. It's the best part. I watched it.
Oh, I will.
4 or 5 times.
I will. Oh, I will. You better believe it. But dude,
I didn't mention how I watched this too. I did it in the weirdest way.
Well, you watched it on a cell phone plugged into like a Wii.
I watched it on my VR again. Just because it was like I wanted to start it. I wanted to start it, but like
yeah, sure, but you watched it on VR for research purposes only because the strip club was right there.
No, it's because Mary was using the TV and it was too early in the day to like just fuck off to my office and watch it. So I was like, I'm still a part of this family, and I put my VR headset on because it's like, dude, this is this is not sponsored or anything, but it should be if you want to sponsor us. But big screen, the fucking app for big screen where it's like the home, you get all the theaters and you can watch movies on there.
Oh my god, that's actually a beautiful sponsorship.
Good. I use it. I want to use it more because it's like I get into it. I felt like I did one of the little home theater environments, and I just watched it on like basically like 150 inch screen.
Okay. Do you do it on the home environment, and then you get avatars of Mary and your 2 children?
I want to. I wish.
And you got your family in there, and you're on VR, and you're like, finally I'm home.
I know. No, it was nice. I did feel a little lonely. I want to get people on it because it's like, see, if we ever did that, we could have our actual watch parties there.
I know. Well, what's it called again?
Oh god, I'm gonna fuck. See, now I'm pretty sure it's big screen.
Oh, big screen.
Now
you
I'm
gotta
like,
get. We're gonna go out.
It's probably like large screen or something.
Find out what it is.
I'm pretty
so
sure
we can.
I'm pretty sure it's big screen.
I want to properly ask big screen / whatever the VR thing is that Levi's talking about. I want to extend our sponsorship, like, possibilities. Whatever you'd like for us to do.
I'm pretty sure it's like one guy though. That's the thing.
Oh, that's beautiful, dude. You want to give us the app? Yeah.
It's cool, man. I honestly, I want to have you check it out somehow. Anyway, that might have lended slightly to my enjoyment because I watched it on a massive screen.
That's the dumbest way to watch this movie, but I love
it. Do you remember the other movie I watched this way?
No,
for the
I
film
don't
club,
remember.
Reindeer Games.
Oh my god! Okay, everybody, go out and watch the Christmas like crime thriller hit, Reindeer Games, and just imagine it on a VR set. My god!
No, it's dope. It's like it's pretty close to being in like a theater. Truth be told,
I know. Yeah, you said that, and the VR that I have works with like a fucking cell phone, and it's awesome. Works great.
That's not real VR.
Oh my god! Dude, it is. You should see it. Anyways, no, it's a headset. You put your phone in, and then it splits the phone screen, and it only works in an app that lets you.
That's what I'm saying. There's a difference between 360-degree
VR.
video and like actual 3D environments. That's the difference.
Okay, whatever, dude.
Because I can like get under the chairs
It feels all the same. I don't know. I probably could too.
No,
Anyways.
dude.
No, I
dude,
can't. I have no idea.
You don't get it.
I have no idea. I used that VR headset like
You
twice.
don't get it, dude. All right. Anyway, Enron. It's whatever.
Oh no! I needed to say. If you liked this, this is my. If you like this, watch this recommendation. You got to go watch the Crooked E. So there's a movie by. Get this, dude. Do you want to see the fucking red strings that I was pulling on my bulletin board, and I was going and saying, fucking Penelope. Does this name ring a bell? Penelope Fierce, maybe Spheeris. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe.
Penelope Fierce. Guess what? She directed one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my entire life. The saddest made-for-TV, lowest budget, just hack job about Enron. It's called The Crooked E, and then it's called The Crooked E and Enron, or the oh my God, what's it called? The Unshredded Truth. It's the yeah, that's what it is. Oh my God, baby, that's a gut punch.
Yeah,
The Unshredded Truth, and I'm pretty sure it was like 2006. So it was like right after all of it.
I saw it on the letterbox. It's even earlier, which is even worse. It's 2003.
2003. Oh my God. Oh, so it was even before
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, it's even before. So good get it. Actually, it's kind of cool because now that I know it's before, I didn't even realize that it's almost better because it basically tells the exact same story. There are scenes from that movie that are like in the documentary, and so that's pretty interesting actually. But anyways, go watch it.
Truth, the best movie Jordan's ever watched.
But no, dude, Penelope Spheeris, whatever. She fucking directed The Decline of Western Civilization, one of your favorite documentaries.
Oh, really?
She directed a shit ton of.
She's done a lot.
But dude, she's directed so many crazy. She directed Suburbia. She directed some wild ass and The Little Rascals, the 1994 version.
Shut up.
This
really?
is, dude. Yeah, her credits are all over the place and they are wild.
That's fine.
And they're like, it's like. But honestly, I think that like her last good thing was probably Decline of Western Civilization Part 3, whatever. She directed Black Sheep with starring. Oh my God, my boy Chris Farley. Are you kidding me? This was
Black Sheep.
This was the wildest thing I found today.
That is weird. I appreciate that. I didn't care about the unshredded truth, but now I do.
Yeah,
now I
no,
can.
and dude, go watch the unshredded. It's free on YouTube. I just watched it.
Don't do it.
And I felt super good about myself.
My recommendation, we already said, go watch The Big Short. It's like very entertaining and does a lot of good information. It's not at all the same, but it's similar.
No, but the Big Short is it's better and it's like what we could have had.
All right, there it is. That's fucking Enron. We're done. We're fucking at the hour mark.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we are. Oh my God, how'd we go an hour?
I know. We always say we're not what we're going to talk about, but we probably just ramble and people hate us.
We did kind of. This one was a little ranty. I apologize, everybody.
Well,
I don't know.
That happens when we have slight disagreements too, because a lot of times with movies we're like, yeah, movie rocks, and then we're just sucking a movie's dick for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's
But
that's
anyway,
true too.
So I don't know. I was mistaken. It was the Oscars this previous Sunday. And I had consumed some alcoholic beverages, so I did not do the poll until yesterday. And I did it for 2 days, though. I didn't want to do it for 1 day. I felt like a gyp. So it still got 24 hours left at the time of recording. And I don't know what's going to win. It's like a 3-way tie right now, so we'll see. But it's probably going to be Paradise Lost or Dear Zachary or Searching for Sugar Man. So stay tuned. Check the Reddit. I mean, by the time this podcast goes up, it'll probably be shortly thereafter that this will go up. I'll post the movie, check the website to see which one we're watching next week. All good picks. I've seen Paradise Lost and Dear Zachary, but I've not seen Searching for Sugar Man. So.
Damn. Yeah.
And then who knows? Senna and Active Killing could come in. It's like not that. It's not that.
Everything is kind of it is really neck and neck right now.
Yeah. But it'd be interesting. Paradise Lost is definitely one of those ones that's very, very biased. But it is an interesting documentary. Really? Yeah. It's been years since I watched it, though. So, all right. Cool. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
Check out all the stuff. Come to the Reddit. Get on the convo.
Reddit. You can always support us on Patreon. We'd appreciate that.
Sure
We love
do.
that. New things are coming.
Got
We,
some stuff. Got some fun
always.
things.
Yeah, it'd be super
More,
cool.
more pods, stickers.
We do, yeah. Pods, stickers, muggies. Little notebooks too, sure, if you want. But go to our Reddit, and I posted. Oh hell yeah, dude! I posted extra extended stuff of Paris is Burning. So I thought that was nice.
You already pegged that one last time.
Did I talk about it?
You did.
Okay.
You did. But
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say you should put, if it's on YouTube, go post
yeah,
the Unshredded Truth.
Oh, why am I not? Yeah. Okay, I'll do that immediately after this. All right.
All right.
Love you all.
Goodbye.
Bye.